Hey y'all, this is SJ Gets Down with my good friend Ken.
Hey y'all.
Hey Ken, my co-host with the most. Also, you've got a podcast.
Foxtrotting
in the Foxhole. We love it. Sports guy, if you like sports, check him out. He's awesome. He's a neighbor and a brother from another mother. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. All right, episode 3. We're doing it. Stories. Storytelling.
Ooh, storytelling. That sounds fascinating. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful thing about this journey.
Yes. And the reason why we're talking about it, because
Absolutely.
we need to pass down stories, right? We need to hear stories.
The threads that
They
connect
teach us.
everything. So, take us through a journey.
All right. I wanted to do a little excerpt from The Velveteen Rabbit, which is one of my favorite books, reading to the girls, and I loved it when I was little. And it's sweet. So here we go. The Velveteen Rabbit is talking to the Skin Horse. Real isn't how you are made, said the Skin Horse. It's a thing that happens to you. When a child loves you for a long, long time, not just to play with, but really loves you, then you become real. Does it hurt? Asked the rabbit. Sometimes, said the Skin Horse, for he was always truthful. When you are real, you don't mind being hurt. Does it happen all at once, like being wound up? Or bit by bit? It doesn't happen all at once, said the Skin Horse. You become. It takes a long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or who have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints and very shabby. But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you can't be ugly, except to people who don't understand. I just love that.
Oh, absolutely. So, this was passed down from your mom, and did you pass it down to your kids as well?
It was one of those books I've read so many times that pages were falling out. It's sweet.
The spring day beach feeling, just that warmth over.
Did you have a stuffed animal when you were...
I had several.
Okay.
It was so fun the past couple of months. And going through some of my stuff, because we're dealing with my mom's estate, and the stuffed animals, and making the decision, like, okay, we're going to pass this on to somebody else.
So she had stuffed animals.
Yeah, mine from when I was a kid. She had lots of stuffed animals. I mean, like, that's what right here is one of those.
She saved them.
Oh, totally. Every
I
one
did
of them.
not. I must be a terrible mother.
Yeah, oh, she saved every one of them.
That's really sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
really
they all had a great
sweet.
story behind them, too. And that was really cool. It was kind of...
So is this one? Am I
This is
looking
one
at
that she brought later. This is one that Mom I gave to Mel,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
This is one that every time I'd come home, I'd see that, and it just always would make me go, oh.
So favorite animal? What was it? Or stuffed? Your favorite stuffy?
I would have to say it's like a Dracula-looking one, but it was a bear was what we used to call it, Drac. But it's like this cute kind of amalgamation of Dracula and the cutest little teddy bear.
It's like a teddy bear that's a Dracula.
Right, that had this really kind of like bad carpet as far as the coat was concerned. It was the coolest huggable bear, yeah.
That's so funny. So you probably wouldn't want to date a guy and like come over to his house and he had like stuffed animals on his bed.
And we got friends
That might creep me out a little bit.
We got
But
friends that she didn't marry the guy, but it was a major hurdle in the beginning because
he did, yeah.
a ridiculous amount of stuffed animals.
Like
yeah.
around the house. Yeah.
Absolutely. Prized possessions kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, we needed... That's another episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. We dive deep into the psychology of that.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. But, going back to the whole storytelling, because we just created a whole arc of telling stories about the stuffed animals we had in our lives. And that's the wonderful thing of choosing this thread. And I'm sure we're going to have to revisit this many times down the road.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to dive into it. So, Ken, I was thinking, why do I love stories? Why do you love stories? As human beings, why do we love stories? What are your thoughts? Do you love stories? A good story.
Well, a good story, I think, as you know, my history background.
Yeah.
And it's something I've always followed. And having really good history professors, especially back in the day, from the cut from the old cloth, that told some of the most amazing stories to where I would actually want to make the crazy decision to go down that path and become one of them. It's always been in my DNA, but that reinforce it to the point where I would actually make a choice to like, okay, I want to be in a discipline that tells stories and it collects information, and somehow you've got this information. How do you tell the story that's behind all this research and scholarship?
And we know from being in school, probably your favorite teachers were the best storytellers.
Undoubtedly.
They're the ones that they've got to do this every day, every year, talk about the same stuff, but every time they just make it engaging. I would say teachers are one of our favorite storytellers.
And that was so inspiring.
People connect the past to the present and carrying that on.
Oh, sure. It's a collection of stories from origin, past, our present, and our future.
Exactly. Every family has their story. Every person has their story. And if you're loved, hopefully somebody will pass that story on.
Oh, sure.
What else in the world makes us laugh or cry or feel so emotional? Every family has their story. Every person has their story. If you're loved, hopefully somebody will pass that story on. Cave paintings, 30,000 BCE. As hominoids, early humans. Were we called hominoids? Yeah.
I'm always so fascinated. It all started on the cave. And somehow we figured out how to communicate and express ourselves.
We needed an imprint of some sort. Greek mythology, African folk tales, Native Americans, the legends, the dancing around the fires, the singing, all that. And we continue today, just in a different voice and around the world. In different cultures and different times. And the evolvement of that is super amazing. I love this stuff. Oral carvings to literature.
Very important transformation as well, and a great advancement in terms of our evolution as a species.
Books, legends, and theater, 1000 BCE. So, of course, there was one book, and you know the monks were always transcribing and trying to copy stuff, and the king had one book.
We had somebody on retainer or enslaved that's like, this is going to be the function of your life to chronicle my story.
Exactly. And another appreciation down the road why people started collecting these stories, because otherwise we wouldn't have them, and we wouldn't understand and be where we are today collectively, you know?
All true.
And hopefully smarter. Okay, the big game changer. Ken, can you guess what it is?
Well, that smile on your face, why don't you tell us?
The printing press. Once upon a time, the printing press came around. It was in the 1440s. Johannes Gutenberg. You know, you gotta love the Germans.
A good friend. Had many a pint with him back in the day, but yeah.
Making books cheap and accessible. Imagine, this is the first time that everyone can get information of any kind.
It was such a vanity item beforehand, as you pointed out. That you had some retainer, or you could go around and maybe buy a book from China or all these other places.
Right.
To actually last the test of time.
I mean, this is when things started to change. Countries everywhere, right?
Absolutely.
Then we do radio, film, and TV. 1900s. The family sitting around the radio.
Somebody like Orson Welles pretending the world's going to end and people believing it in 1938. But yeah.
But before that, I'm sure it was like, let's have story time.
Oh, absolutely. As we've talked about before, like FTR, basically revolutionizing politics by coming on the air. And doing his fireside chats and telling a little story, talking about his dog and what Eleanor was doing and all those wonderful things.
Getting people engaged.
Absolutely.
So talking about like radio through television, and I know you love sports, right? So sports tell a story too.
Yeah, sports tell an amazing story. And it's a thread that makes it so unique and so perverse in our landscape. What I mean by that, there's so much lore invested in sports. And that's through storytelling. And that's through
the ages.
Passing on the traditions from father to son, from town to town. For example, talking about the Ducks.
Yeah.
and how they were the ones that won the first basketball championship in '39. They were called the Webfoots. And these guys lived forever, and there's such a great story and how beloved they have in Oregon lore over the last 6 or 7 decades. And that's the fascinating, that's pretty much why it ties me to all the teams I like and the passion that I have. When it comes to, like all the folks when we go to see Lane United, I've been there since 2013. It's part of our story. We're out in Springfield.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing.
Still about connection.
Absolutely. But in community.
In community. Yeah.
Something to be passed on, whether it's through family, friends, neighborhoods.
I think I mentioned to you right before one of the
Lane United?
game. Yeah, Lane United. We were all out like front at the Pint Pot, and we were all dressed in red. And Lily or Joe pulled up. Were they dropping something off? I don't even remember.
Yeah, they were doing something.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh my God, you guys are so awesome!" Just that whole sea of red. I mean, that's a big deal.
Oh, absolutely.
She was like, "That was really cool." I was like, "I know, we're kind of cool.
Absolutely.
We can be."
And when you think about a lot of the stuff goes back, at least when it comes to modern sports, 150 years, especially like when you talk about some of the soccer, football proper clubs.
Right.
And even the sports in this country at this point now are about a century or more. And so you have all these stories that are ingrained and it manifests itself in so many ways. For example, I grew up being a huge Redskins fan. They changed the commander. But the whole thing is...
Definitely.
Yeah, but the point being is that when you say about things that change,
yeah.
And that story changed. And a lot of people are having a hard time racing. But there is a new story forming.
I mean, you have to be flexible in these days. I just keep saying that. And I know it's really hard. I see it, especially in my work as a body worker. Clients are older, and you can tell sometimes change doesn't feel so good. And then I can work on clients the same age that just embrace it. And you see the difference in their attitude and their health. You gotta kind of go with the flow. You gotta jump on the wagon a little bit.
No, absolutely.
You know? And it's not always a perfect wagon. No wagon is. So getting into stories, okay, remember when it was just like sitcoms on TV? It's so good now. We are so spoiled.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
I think we have barbecued the ribs and...
Oh, I know, but I want to put a little extra sauce on the ribs before they get dry. Social media. So like TikTok, you can do the Reels now. Insta, you can do the Reels, Facebook. And we're finding out that some are not real. Is that still a story?
Oh, it's totally a story.
It totally is. Does a story matter if it's real or not? If it's true.
No.
If somebody said, hey, I'm going to tell you something, I might have been to another planet.
Well, there's no doubt you were.
I might have visited one at one time.
Yeah, man.
I wanted to be on that rocket ship with Bezos.
We're going to have to talk about that.
That's another story.
In terms of the blowback, but we'll bring that up here soon enough.
How can anybody be mad getting on a rocket and going up to outer space?
I mean, folks who are so salty about that. Oh my
that makes
goodness.
me sad.
Yeah,
It's like, if anybody can go up and look down on the earth and just see how amazing we are, and they can afford it, I just say go. You know,
well,
you do you.
The affluent ones who were complaining, if they had been invited, they'd been right there with their backpack and their sippy cup and their tang, like hook a sister up. They just said get invited, and that's why they're a little salty.
Well, I mean, that's what you think. You don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know anything.
Well, no, but you have to wonder otherwise.
I know. How cool is it? Like,
Exactly.
When I heard you can pay money and go up, I'm like, okay. Can I raise my hand? Is there an application? All right. If anybody knows a way for me to get up there, please contact me at the confession hotline.
Absolutely.
503-683-2006. Yeah, and you want to call this anyway. I'm going to say it again. Call the confession hotline. Just say what you want to say.
And so what should they be confessing?
So I want you to tell a story about our next episode, episode 4, Death by 1,000 Papercuts.
Ooh.
And you know exactly what I mean. I have lived it a million times.
This is going to be more delicious than this cider.
This is going to be a 3-hour episode.
I'm looking very forward to it.
I've taken notes through the years, so yeah, I have documents and visuals. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. Check out the storytelling Spotify playlist that I've made for you. I think Ken's going to add a few songs too. Every song is a story.
We're having so much fun, folks.
I know. All right. They all lived happily ever after.